Now it's just you and me, my friend. No weapons, no food, just a simple scroll. What's happening down there?
Hello there, my RPG lovers, and welcome to another video. Surprise, surprise, here's a playable teaser for the possible remake of Gothic. Yep, you heard that right. I really thought this wasn't real, but it's actually happening. There is a playable teaser, as they call it, and it's available on Steam for free as long as you have at least one Gothic game in your Steam library. I played for a couple of hours and I'm still not entirely done, but I think I'm pretty close to the end of this demo. Judging by the current Steam reviews, people are not that happy with the direction in which this remake is going, but I think it has a huge potential. Some problems need to be addressed, and I understand why some people are pissed, but THQ is being really transparent with this project. This is not a full game, it's a playable teaser version to a potential approach for a new Gothic game. Nothing is set in stone, THQ wrote on Steam, so your feedback is essential to turn Gothic into a modern game. Therefore, and to reward your loyalty, Gothic playable teaser is totally free for all fans who already have any of the titles in the Gothic saga or developed by Piranha Bytes. So if you have any problems with this teaser, feel free to let them know. And please don't just enter the rage mode for no reason. These guys are trying to modernize the Gothic franchise and there is no way to please everyone, no matter how hard they try. Now let's dive straight into this teaser. The new ModMic USB by Antlion Audio is the best wired ModMic ever made. You can simply attach it to any headphones and you'll get a great vocal quality. ModMic provides two built-in microphones in one device. With a single switch, you can choose the noise-cancelling unidirectional cardioid capsule for noisy environments or the full omnidirectional capsule for high-quality voice recordings. Besides the ability to attach it to any headphones, great voice quality and dual mic modes, you also get the digital mute button which you can use to instantly silence the device. I'm currently recording my voice with the ModMic so you can hear the sound quality it produces. Many thanks to Antlion Audio for providing me with a review copy, and if you're interested in this device, I'll leave the link in the description so you can check it out. If you're not familiar with the Gothic franchise at all, the intro does a good job of explaining all you need to know about it. There's a war between humans and orcs, and King Robert II needed more weapons, so he basically forced all prisoners to mine ore for him. To make sure they don't escape, the king hired the best magicians to create a magic barrier around the entire valley, but it backfired and they trapped everyone inside the barrier. You can enter inside the barrier, but you can't leave. Our main character is a nameless prisoner and the beginning is almost identical to the first Gothic game, but it's much more cinematic. I don't think this is a bad thing, but our main character is a bit cringy at first.
Oh, come on.
But it's understandable that they need to give more character to the nameless hero if they're going with this approach. As long as we can shape him to our liking with the gameplay and the dialogue choices, I don't have problems with this. Although I'm not too sure about his voice.
Okay, let's be clear. If I help you, what can you give me in return?
It's not that bad, but it could be better in some cutscenes. Not long after the intro and some exploring, you'll meet Diego. Well, actually you'll meet some snappers first, and you're introduced to the combat system for the first time. But since you suck, Diego comes to save the day. Well, to save the night. Yeah, whatever. If you played any of the Gothic games, you know that Diego is one of the most recognized characters in this universe. He's presented really well in this teaser, and I believe that new players will like him as well. But the original Diego was not this charismatic, for the lack of a better word. He seemed tougher, but since the first Gothic game is so old, the presentation is not comparable. Diego in this game is acting more like a musketeer. I think it's a good fit, but some fans might disagree. The intro is a bit lengthy and I was afraid they are trying to turn Gothic into a very linear game, but fortunately this isn't the case. This is where we get to see how dialogue works in this game. You can ask him a couple of questions or just leave. It works very similar to Gothic games, but it's presented differently. The thing that's really important when it comes to this, your choices really matter and you can completely change the outcome of certain quests with different dialogue choices. That's exactly what I experienced later on in this demo. After the lengthy intro, the game finally opens up. You can go and explore the whole map if you wish. Well, this is not the whole game of course, but the map in this demo is not small at all. Actually, I think they got the right size for these areas and how they look as well, but more importantly, the exploration is really rewarding. You don't have a map of the world, you'll need to buy it, just like in every Gothic game. This makes the exploration much better in my opinion, and you have to try it out for yourself to see what I'm talking about. It's really hard to explain, but the exploration and the map itself is hands down the best part of this demo. You can also climb on most things that seem climbable, but there are some exceptions. So that feature from the first two Gothic games is back as well. This might be a minor nitpick, but it feels weird when you can't jump on these rocks or in the river. While exploring, you'll find things to fight, and now would be a good time to talk about the combat system. Let's get one thing straight, the combat was never a strong aspect of any Gothic game. But it was functional, for the most part, and you had a strong variety of tools, spells and items to use. The remake is trying something entirely different. The best way to explain it would be to compare it with For Honor's combat system. You draw your weapon and you have a couple of directions to block or attack. You can sidestep and perform parries with a good timing. Your every attack uses stamina, and the same goes for the human NPCs you fight, but this is not the case with beasts. The core design and this approach to combat is not bad at all, but it requires much more polishing to make it really good. It feels a bit slower than it should be, and in some cases where the enemy is far away from you, closing that gap feels like a drag. You have light and heavy attacks in 3 different directions. You have to keep your eye on the enemy and have the right timing. Enemies will frequently dodge and block your attacks, and if you run out of stamina, you become very vulnerable and unable to move, dodge or block. Before the enemy is going to hit you, the red arrow shows you the direction in which you can block. The controls work fine, and this approach to combat is okay like I said, but it needs more polishing for sure. I still didn't manage to find the bow and try how that works, and I'm not sure how they're going to implement the magic system. Once you get the hang of the combat, you can easily kill things, but this doesn't mean that you shouldn't pick your fights carefully. In my opinion, that was one of the main things in Gothic games. You should be able to pick a fight with everyone, but if you're a wimp, don't expect to win. The sense of danger is really important in every Gothic game, and I think these developers are aware of that. One thing is for sure, the combat has to change, and we can't just copy and paste the old combat system with better animations. It just wouldn't work. I'm really curious to see how this combat will work in some boss fights as well. It definitely has the potential in general, but we have to see much more in order to get the full picture. I'll have to make another video where I give my full feedback about the combat and everything else related to this teaser. We still didn't talk about how the quests work. NPCs are supposed to remember the important things you said, which should affect the future interaction with them. I failed to do a certain quest because of some previous choices I made. Different option in the dialogue would result in a different outcome. These are all the things that you would expect in a proper RPG. I found 3 different ways of completing this certain quest, and I'll talk more about this in my feedback video. I think they have the right idea for how the quests should work. But one little nitpick I had is when I tried to steal the sword from Caden. He would give me a warning every time and I couldn't pick it up or steal it.
What do you think you're doing, rookie?
Okay, I'm sorry. My mistake. It won't happen again.
In my opinion, the Gothic game would allow the player to steal it, and Caden would turn hostile and try to kill the player. But more about this in my feedback video. One thing we didn't talk about is the graphics. My GTX 1060 really struggled to keep me above 30 FPS until I lowered the settings a bit. The lighting is great and the world looks good in general. The characters are a hit and miss, but they look memorable for sure. Art style seems to be on point, and I was really impressed with some armor design. We're yet to see how orcs look in this game, which is also really important. This area creates a nice atmosphere, but this is just a small part of the game. At one point I could see the rest of the world and the old camp in the distance, and it looks amazing. The scale of the world from a distance looks much bigger than the first game, but I might be wrong. And that would be all for this preview. I'll continue playing the teaser, and you can expect the feedback video really soon. I really have high hopes for this remake, and I'm glad that THQ is asking the fans for the feedback. If you have your own ideas for how this remake should be, make sure you let the developers know. Play through the teaser and write the review on Steam. Leave a comment on this video and tell me your thoughts about this project in general. Consider subscribing for more content and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads. Special thanks to my Patreons and YouTube exclusive members, and if you as well want to become one of them, all the links are in the description. And I'll see you in the next one.